everything that Alex does is in some way, shape, or form something that really does occur to sleepwalkers and is often the thing that puts them in the most peril physically.
Um, well, this is exciting to chat with you all on a screen that I'm not worried about what's happening on the other side of it.
With this guy here, though, you never know, right?
That's true. If you just start staring backwards, we're done here. And I'm very excited to be speaking with Mallory Drumm, Alex Lee Williams, and Jay Drakulic, the team behind Dream Eater. Thank you all so much for the time. I really do appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you
thanks
for
for
having
having
us. Thank
us.
you. It's an honor.
Honestly, this film is great. It really
Oh,
is.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you
It
so much.
is just the right amount of chilling. And um, Jay, let's start with you. Like, where did the film come from?
So, we originally had an idea for a straight narrative film called Asleep, like stylized Asleep, that we had kind of put together, a treatment for probably like 2020, 2021, something like that. And we weren't really getting any bites with studios. We're having a hard time getting it greenlit. So we kind of moved on, started ideating some other IPs. And then when it came time, for us to make now a fully independent film and go, okay, we're going to stop waiting to get greenlit, stop waiting for permission, we kind of went back to our kind of font of ideas. And we had always been really, really attached to this nugget within this film Asleep. And essentially, we dusted it off and we kind of just rebuilt it from the ground up, but around a couple and this guy suffering from violent parasomnia. And, found footage is something that we're really deeply passionate about. One of the very first ideas that we had ever pitched in the industry that got greenlit was a found footage that got turned into a narrative through the studio. But yeah, it was just this movie that, it was a story we really wanted to tell, a movie we really wanted to make. And it kind of just started really kind of coming together really seamlessly and intuitively as we started developing it. And, obviously, it's funny. People, I think, often think that found footage is an easy genre to tackle, and we always say, like, absolutely, it's not. It's really hard, right? Because you always have to contextualize the camera, why it's filming, what it's filming, etc. But what was really cool was this idea seamlessly with the couple kind of just wove into this found footage format where it actually started informing the narrative. And so we talk about this a lot, but our initial draft ended up becoming a shooting draft because we had camera motivations and moves written right into the script, baked into the narrative's DNA. So yeah, it all kind of started with this nugget of an idea, kind of kept going. We just kept tossing it back and forth. The three of us all write together and ideate together. And yeah, slowly but surely, we ended up with the Dream Eater that audiences are going to see on the 24th.
Well, I'm glad you said that because, found footage has now been around for a while, shall we say. But this one actually fits naturally. It doesn't feel forced, and I really appreciated that about the film. Like we have good reasons why the camera's always on and whatnot. Mallory and Alex, like for the two of you, what's it like to perform in this sort of environment? Because this is a different type of performance, and it's a different type of filming style. So, what is that like to create these characters? And what you created from the beginning, it sounds like, but bring these characters to life in this way that makes it so unique.
Yeah, I mean, both Alex and I are actors by trade. This is the first full feature that we've ever done, and kind of came out of a little bit of necessity. But Alex and I are best friends. We've been friends for over a decade now. So the fact that we were playing a couple, I think, just allowed us to kind of show our natural like chemistry together as friends and all that good stuff. And making the entire movie with your best friends from start to finish definitely provides an atmosphere that allows you to be a little bit more, I think, like comfortable and free and just like kind of get away from the nerves of, oh shit, I'm about to act for 9 days and I've never done that before. So, and the fact that we were a part of, like Jay was saying earlier, how we write the scripts together, because we were a part of that from day one, it just really allowed us, I think, to kind of like get into these characters early on. So that when it eventually did come time to shooting, it kind of just felt like we were just slipping into it. And like I said, making a movie with your best friends just creates an atmosphere of just like love and support. And honestly, Alex kills it in this movie. And so being able to act alongside him, I think just made me a better actor. And it was just a joy, honestly.
Yeah, I think the found footage style, aside from, a lot of people, to Jay's point, when they say like they think it's easy, it's because you can achieve a lot more on smaller budgets. So obviously
Mm.
that's a huge pull for found footage for filmmakers, and it's one of the things that we decided was a strength of the story when we were ideating that change from Asleep to Dream Eater. But also it allows for that rough around the edges acting to sort of play through, and that's something that Mal and I, at being non-actors ourselves, we wanted to take advantage of. So it's like, okay, and that's why we chose to use our names in it too. So it's like, okay, we don't have to worry about calling each other something else. I'll just call you Mallory, so that honesty can be there. So like that's just one less thing we need to worry about. But for the acting side of it, that rough around the edges feel of found footage, where you don't have to, I always just call them movie moments, like those big dramatic like pauses and those things that you really want pro actors to sort of lead with found footage, because you're trying to place it in this realistic space. You don't have to worry about those as much. So you let that realism come through and that rough around the edges feel. So in terms of the acting side, it was hugely helpful for us to be doing a found footage movie for our acting debut.
But like honestly, like they always say non-actors, and it's like, you know what? If you act, you're an actor. Being the only one that was behind the camera for this film, it was incredible to watch the emotional depths that Mallory had to go to, and then the just dichotomy of the personality switch that Alex would have to do throughout the film. Honestly, it was a pleasure watching them work, and quite frankly, it was one of the thrills of my career. And I can't say enough good things about their performances. It's why the movie's as good as it is.
And for me, the most satisfying part was listening to Jay be the voice of unresolved mysteries. That's Jay's voice, and that to me steals the show. Yeah,
I have to admit, I was so happy to see Unresolved Mysteries come up there. I was like,
We didn't know if we were gonna get away with that. Like honestly,
yeah.
when we put in our clearance report, we're like, "There's no fucking way we're gonna be able." Sorry, we're allowed to swear on this.
you're good.
There's no way we're gonna be allowed to get away with unresolved mysteries. And it was like, "Yeah, fine, do it." And we were like, "All right, sounds good," because we love obviously unsolved mysteries. We're big fans of, so.
Yeah.
Well, that brings up an interesting question here too, because there's actually lots of references to horror films in the past. This is our very own Overlook, I think Alex says at one point, and the reference to the Candyman and all this stuff. So from the three of you, I'd love to know why do we love horror so much? What is it what we truly love about it? Because it's one of those genres that every generation has their horror that they keep coming back to.
Yeah, I think it's like it's interesting. We all have kind of different takes on it. Personally for myself, I think what horror really does, and especially when I was a kid and through my formative years, it really helps you reconcile some of the darkness and the horrors you come up against in your life. And there's kind of like a calm that I get when I watch a horror film that is dealing with some of these issues, and it kind of tells me like it's okay, you can make it through it. There's darkness there, but we're here to fight the darkness in the name of light, right? So I think, for me personally, and that's why I think kids should be exposed to horror films, because I think it's art that can really save them. And instead of, shielding kids from art that can potentially affect their lives positively, we should shield them from the events that could traumatize them later, right? So yeah, personally for me, that's why horror has always been so near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, I think for me, like I think with horror, you can really explore kind of like to what Jay's alluding to, just so many other genres. Like you can get into drama, you can get into comedy, you can get into like rom-com territory. I think horror really just allows you to explore all of it. And I think too, like there's really no other genre that changes the way you do things. Like Jaws changed the way people went into the water, and like Psycho changes the way you take a shower. And so I don't think that there's a better genre that like really makes you that active participant quite like horror does.
Dream Eater makes you change the way you sleep at night.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the rush. Like when you go into a movie, we're all agreeing to suspend our disbelief so that we can just be a part of this story. And when it's horror, you that's a very hard thing to achieve, to make the audience forget. Like you're safe, you're sitting in your chair, none of this is real. But for that split second, when a good plays jump scare, or when a really terrifying scene full of tension and full of dread, makes you actually afraid of what you're seeing. I don't think there's any more satisfying feeling, both as a filmmaker but as an audience member first. I love that feeling. It's the same reason that I want to go on a roller coaster, is for that split second I think, oh, I might die. Oh, this roller coaster is going off the rails for sure. I'm going to fly out of my seat. But I know I'm not going to. But for a second I believed it. And I love that feeling. It's because every time I like a good jump scare happens, I start to laugh. Because it's just that wave of euphoria that comes over me of like, wow, that was fun. And I think also horror allows us to. I'm stealing this from Eli. He said this recently. I thought it was just so poignant and so well said. Horror allows us to reconcile our ultimate fear of death. I think that's a very
Mm.
well, very well thought out reason to why horror is just so powerful.
Well, I mean, Alex, you brought up Eli. How does Eli Roth get involved in a film like this? Like, how does that connection happen?
Through a lot of blind luck.
Yeah,
Like,
true and true.
honestly, it was crazy. Like we had our film in the HP Lovecraft Film Festival in October 2024, where to our complete shock and surprise, we won Best Feature.
Shocked.
Like completely shocked. There were so amazing. There's so many amazing films at that
Yeah.
festival, and then from there, a few other festivals just reached out, including UFF in San Francisco, which is like a found footage POV focused film festival, and they sent out a bunch of screeners to a few influencers. And one of the reviews from Chuck Shaughnessy at Your Movie Guy just went viral. I mean, I think he posted it on like a Sunday, and we went to sleep, woke up on a Monday, and it was like 4 million views. And then someone reached out to Eli and was like, hey, have you seen this review of this film Dream Eater? And then he reached out through our DMs, and like Alex was checking our Instagram and reached out to Jay and I and was like, Eli Roth wants to watch our movie. And I mean, like, we were all just like, are you sure it's Eli
It's
Roth? And
Eli Roth,
yeah,
right?
like, there's just no way. And then we sent him the film, and then literally within the time, like the runtime of the movie, he sent us an email back and was like, I loved it. It was terrifying, and I want to buy it and put it out through the horror section. And it kind of just went from there. And honestly, it's been a dream ever
Shivers. I just got
since. Yeah.
shivers. Like it's crazy. It's still crazy to even think that that happened.
And he's such a supportive, cultivating mentor for us. Like, he really is how he comes across in interviews. That's him 24/7. Like, he really believes in indie filmmakers. He really believes in these stories that people have a need to tell. And, just the lessons and the encouragement that we've got from Eli has been insane. Like, he in every sense of the word really is a mentor. And we just, obviously working with your idols, you never know what to expect. And in this case, he's honestly just like he is really the guy that he projects himself out as, somebody who cares about filmmakers, cares about filmmaking, and is just a creative through and through.
I love that. That's awesome. I think that's such an amazing story, but it's also great to hear that he's that caring and supportive. I think that's really awesome because sometimes you hear stories that people, yeah, we ran into this person and they support and they produced it, but they didn't really have any influence in that. But I really see the support that he's offered you guys, and I think that's amazing.
Phenomenal.
I would love to talk about parasomnia. Um, in creating a film like this, did you do a lot of research into it, or did you just lean into the idea of it, this otherworldly force as as an additive to what parasomnia really is?
Oh, we honestly, all of our films, all of our IPs are really, really highly researched. This was no different. In fact, this was probably where we kind of went the deepest into the research with sleep science. And so early on, we have this character, the sleep therapist, who basically gives the audience in a nutshell what gets them to wrap their head around sleep science, so that now we can get in there and really start to play with it. But really, we started deeply researching, like, what are the risks that come with parasomnia, with sleepwalking in specifics, and then violent sleepwalking. So throughout the movie, no spoilers, everything that Alex does is in some way, shape, or form something that really does occur to sleepwalkers, and is often the thing that puts them in the most peril physically. um and from there it was kind of like, you know once I think you have wrapped your head around the kind of subject that you're dealing with, now you can get in there and really start to play. And then that's where Lovecraft came in, because we saw this amazing kind of sandbox that we could play in with parasomnia, and then start to weave in, the unknown elements of and the horrors of Lovecraft. So yeah, no, this movie was really, really highly researched from all aspects, and then from there, once you kind of know the rules, then you can have fun and start to break them. But yeah.
Well, one of the things I thought was really interesting about this film too, is the relationship with trauma. I think Jay, you mentioned trauma before, and one of the lines in the film says, "Trauma is such a powerful force. If untreated, it can slither into all facets of your life." Um, why was that such an important thing to weave into a story like this, especially if you're balancing it with the paranormal?
Yeah, I think, whenever we're writing a film, the thing that we always want to start with first are the characters. Because if you don't care about the characters, you're not going to stick around for the film, whether it be horror, drama, comedy, whatever it may be. And so we knew we wanted to also tell this intimate story about this couple who is experiencing their own sorts of trauma as well, and like the toxicity of it around it, and just the struggles that they're going through with money and all of that. And so once we kind of knew that's where we wanted to focus, it was easy to kind of weave in how trauma, whether that's generational trauma, untreated trauma, can really start to affect all aspects of your life. And then really just opening that up to, okay, now let's not be able to sleep while we're dealing with that trauma. Let's have somebody who is just resistant and does not want to explore it whatsoever while their partner is desperate for them to get better. And that kind of just opens up, I think, for a lot of horror to come in through both, the sleep side as well as just the relationship of Alex and Mallory.
Yeah, like just to kind of add on to that, it's like we always are trying to make, horror films about something. And, Mallory alluded to it, the way that the paradigm that we kind of refer back to is we look at the characters as a prism, and we shine the light of the premise through them. And then that spectrum that comes out, that's the film. So
Mm.
we're always kind of driving the premise through the characters. So characters first, and from that, you end up getting to make a lot of metaphors and comments about things that we go through as people. So that line that you pulled out from the film, that's really what the movie's about, right? It's about that trauma can turn you into something you never intended to be, and it can corrupt you. And so again, that's something we're very passionate about doing. And with horror, like we were kind of talking about earlier, it's one of those genres where I think you get the most effective catharsis out of watching these
Mm.
horror stories, but that are really about something and are really about people. Because, for us, it's like when your mind turns on you, that for us, when your mind betrays you, that's really for us the scariest kind of place we can play in. And yeah, so the movie really was always thinking about it from the perspective of let's make this movie about something, and then let's make it absolutely shit scary.
Well, honestly, it really comes out great. I love the film. And actually I will say, just in response to what you said there, Jay, one of the things I love is a horror film that has something to say. A film that just wants to give me the blood is not my jam, but I love a film that has characters or story behind it that I can really get into. And that's certainly the case with Dream Eater. So
Very
but
kind of you to say.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And
Oh, brother, I
Anytime.
appreciate you, man. Yeah, it's an honor talking to you.
Anytime. Could talk to you for another 2 hours each.
absolutely. You say the time. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thank
You
you very
too.
Cheers.
much.
Thank
Thank
you,
Well.
brother.
you.
Thanks.